Oh, let me repeat the question for you, Tyrone. So
Yeah, man.
so no, I know that. I was saying that I know you would have visited Stocks on the Rocks a few months ago, and you would have
Yes.
highlighted, well, probably kind of even hinted that, look, guys, we have a lot in store for the rest of the year. You know, don't just
Mhm.
watch the shoot up in price. No, but there's a lot more value that we see on the table. In iCreate, you would have articulated your vision. Matter of fact, you spoke about even before iCreate in your creation of the company and kind of led us through the journey to where you are now. My first question would be, how does this acquisition of Visual Vibe fit into the I Create story?
Yeah, man. Thanks for that, Simon. Well, pretty much, I think I articulated a few months back and just recently in our interview, our various interviews on Kalila's show and, the Observer and so forth, that, what we're doing now is, positioning where iCreate is fast becoming a creative group of companies, right? A conglomerate of sorts that will own and operate businesses that fall within that digital and creative space. So, the school, of course, the institute I create being focused on training, which has, sorry, I'm not sure. I think somebody, yeah,
So,
which has, yeah, man, that's fine, which has global potential really for the business in terms of us, just pretty much building skill sets to feed into the appetite that exists globally, most especially, throughout Caribbean and Latin America. And then, we have acquired the Get Paid, which falls within a very critical space of fintech. Um, it's driven a lot by, digital tools, resources, and also a certain kind of knowledge in terms of building out the those type of businesses. And Get Paid plays a critical role within that space now. When the time is near, we'll be speaking a lot more about how Get Paid is positioned on the iCreate. And then, we have the Visual Vibe acquisition, which I would say fall within our advertising, media and advertising, or advertising division of the company, which, Visual Vibe is a very attractive company in the sense that it has been around for 15 years. It has weathered the storm, bring solid earnings through COVID and so forth. And, that will accelerate more than anything else, more than any other entities under iCreate will accelerate our plans of becoming a strong conglomerate for digital and creative companies.
thank you, Tyrone. And
You know.
we even though from the information released, I know what. Let me kind of go into Visual Vibe first. So for those that haven't
Yeah.
really, didn't see the thread, I'm gonna share the thread in the chat now. But kind of give us a walkthrough. What does Visual Vibe do? What do they do on a daily basis? Or what's the operations of the company like?
So let me start here, right?
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
Okay. So let me, when I'm telling folks about Visual Vibe, the first thing I ask them is if you remember that screen in Alpha Tree that, you know, a big number of folks would congregate during Olympics or World Champs to watch the races right in Mandela Park. And I'm sure we're all familiar because it's always a feed during Olympics and World Champs. We'll also see it this year and then, well, in the coming week. And they say, yeah, and I say, well, that is Visual Vibe, really. And it's 13 key locations island wide, right? and the business is digital outdoor advertising, digital billboard, or they call it digital out of home, DOOH, right? Which, for Visual Vibe, there are 13 key locations across the island. The founders, Ali and Natalie McNabb, have done a tremendously well job of choosing some key location, and I'm talking that location in Alpha Tree. I'm talking Oak Road, um, Ronnie Williams Entertainment Center location, right on the intersection of Oak Road and Arden Road. We're talking Manor Park, Discount Pharmacy, New Kingston at the NCB and Trafalgar Road and Knutsford Boulevard. We're talking the medians on Knutsford Boulevard leading up to the Porsche dealership, the intersection of Oak Road and Alpha Tree Crossroads, right? We're talking Montego Bay. We're talking Spanish Town, Downtown, Parade, North Parade. We're talking about 13 locations that have captured all the demographics that exist in Jamaica in a nutshell. Hundreds of thousands in terms of reach on a daily basis. And the business model is simple. Companies pay for, to advertise their products and services via these screens. And that is the business that Visual Vibe is about. That is what the team has built over the years. But we believe that we can take it much further, in terms of our content creation capabilities and so forth, and finding unique ways of reaching audiences across the island, one, and then two, obviously being a publicly listed company, being able to, invest further in more locations and so forth.
Oh,
Sorry,
good.
someone was saying,
Yep, yeah,
yeah,
man. Okay, so I understand that. So effectively, Visual Vibe rent space, put up the boards, and companies, that want to advertise within that space with the Visual Vibe. Um,
right.
some
And it's some very strong. And I would say, Simon, it's some very strong brands that advertise on Visual Vibe. I'm talking about Flow, VM, Gino, advertise on these screens. Supreme Ventures, Ray and Neville, Campari. Talking some very big some blue chip companies really, that advertise. But what I want to kind of jump on, Simon, if you don't mind, is just have Gino jumping in terms of like, and obviously based on the regulations, we can't speak much about the details of what we're doing, but we have confirmed that it's what we're doing is a rights issue in its entirety. We haven't disclosed the size as yet, in terms of the raise and so forth. But maybe Gino, I don't know if you have anything you want to share, just generally in terms of the outlook and you know um, what we've been doing over the last couple of weeks and what we expect very soon. I'm not sure if I can speak on anything.
Well, to be honest, we can't say much, but what we can
Mm,
speak to is, based on what I've seen of iCreate and your plan and the plan plan that the board members have approved, I would definitely would say that it's the right it's a step in the right direction. Um, we can definitely say that this is the new iCreate. Gone are the days where analysts used to make fun of iCreate and say, boy, I don't know why them list this company.
yes.
And no, people, now in the next few years, we can look forward to a new iCreate where people say, my goodness, what a turnaround from a company
Yeah.
that was basically written off by a lot of analysts, a lot of people in the market, and and a lot of people would have would have will be I based on expectation, based on forecast, getting will be comparing iCreate to the Fesco, to the dollar, to the lab and the mail packs, and they'll be
Yes.
looking to get even more value out of it because of the type of strategies that that we that Tyrone and the board of directors are looking to employ. So that's all I can say, and I can definitely say to people, look forward to iCreate, look forward to iCreate, look forward to iCreate.
Thank you,
So,
Gino.
so yeah, man. Thanks, Gino. I want to pressure Gino a bit more, and Tyrone can definitely jump. So Gino, I know there are some things we can't say. Can you give us an idea of when we should expect the rights issue from iCreate? Aaron and Romain and the brick seeker said them want to put aside their money and ensure that them can take up them rights in full. So how
All I can
when could we be
all I can say,
expecting?
Simon, is that put aside your back to school money and then put aside your iCreate money.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tyrone, you
Simon,
want to touch on
we're
that?
yeah, I mean, I endorse what Gina said. What the stage that we're at now, we have kind of finalized all the due diligence as it relates to the transaction. We're pretty much at the tail end in terms of, valuation and so forth. We pretty much have a good idea of where we'll end up. And the board is looking at the notice to send out to the stock exchange, to the market, around the date for the EGM, so that we can pretty much approve us going to the market for the rights issue. The board has made a decision already, and now we need the shareholders vote. um, so that is a matter of days in terms of at least putting out the notice, right? So I think that will give everyone an idea that, when we put forward the announcement around the acquisition of Visual Vibe, or plans to acquire Visual Vibe, and even before putting out that notice, we were hinting long ago that we, as Gino would say, we're putting forward a new iCreate, right? And this is not something that happened by chance. It has been in the pipeline a long time now. But obviously, we know the challenges that iCreate faced in the past, and then COVID came, and we just weren't getting the support that we needed. And having VM now, was pretty much adopted iCreate, working with us closely, has enabled us to really put those plans back on the table, not give up on the business, not give up on our ambitions. And we've been working in the background. People would have seen certain notices and things and just think that we're kind of playing around. But the truth is, we're doing some very serious work behind the scenes. Visual Vibe is heavy lifting. I hinted before that this is a company that could have listed on its own, so and easily too. So iCreate being able to bring this company under its group is a proud moment for me. We've revived the company. We're very focused. We're laser focused. A lot of people would have thought, when they see the different sporadic notices, that iCreate is all over the place, but we're very focused in becoming a creative group of companies. Individuals would have seen, okay, we take a stake in a residential real estate project, but that is a kind of corporate finance kind of strategy to build cash flow, because we know what we're doing and the deals that we have on the table and so forth that needs to be financed, and so forth. So we're very deliberate, we're very focused. A lot of work has gone into Visual Vibe. We'll be putting out the EGM notice pretty soon, so that we can, include the shareholders. And we're very excited to give shareholders an opportunity to double down and to get new shareholders. It's a renounceable rights issue, so that we're looking to do. So shareholders will get the chance to benefit from the upside of this. Obviously, I can't say much, but I think it's the right thing, because there are folks who have stick through the storm with ICreate, and I mean shareholders who have, you know, back last year lost their investment, but now they're gaining. I want an opportunity to reward that. You know, we're very pro shareholders in the company. So us coming with the information around when this right issue will happen, it's we're on the tail end, it's right around the corner. As Gino said, put aside the back to school money and put aside, you know, I create right system money. It's probably the next thing on the market. So it's right around the corner.
Thanks to that, Tyrone, and for
Yeah.
all the rockers in the audience. Remember, you can always post your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them. But we do have a Q&A session where we can field a few questions. So,
Yeah.
Tyrone, one thing that you guys didn't mention was the rights issue price. Are we to expect, like in previous rights issues, are we to expect some form of discount where it's traded? So I create started the year at 78 cents. As they
Yes.
started here at 78 cents and closed today at $4.12. That's a precipitous climb.
Right.
Are we expected to see a lower price so that shareholders, those same shareholders can benefit from getting cheaper rights to additional shares?
Okay. Gina, you want to touch on that?
Yeah, man, definitely. I think what we can say, Simon, is that we will be rewarding our shareholders that have stuck it out with us. We will be rewarding them for their for their patience. We will be rewarding them for just basically, as I said before, sticking it out with us, and we will definitely be giving them a discount as to what we see the as to what the valuation is coming out at as well, which should also be a discount to what the price is trading at. So just to close or just to summarize, I think I think the shareholders will definitely be excited when they see the price published on the JSE.
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's good. So Tyrone, you touched on something a while ago, and I had it down. So I'm happy that you mentioned it first. Now, we have seen in the past where companies listed on the exchange have gone ahead to list divisions or entire companies that are subsidiaries to them. You did
Hmm.
mention that this company naturally will be a subsidiary of iCreate. Do you see some form of listing of Visual Vibe soon? Because you did say that it could be a company that can be listed on its own.
Yeah. What I would say is that everything is on the table at this point in time, but I think the most important thing that we want to do is to demonstrate the strength and capabilities of iCreate, you know. Um, and I think the brand is a good one. It has sustained some of the toughest times, not just COVID, but public market criticism. I think it represents resilience. You know, it represents, being forward thinking and so forth. And I think there's a lot of value in having iCreate lead at this point in time as it relates to, the overall expansion of the group, But nonetheless, we do recognize that we will have strong divisions slash subsidiaries under iCreate that will be brands on their own. And the decision down the line is going to be, I think I would say, Simon, is going to be data driven. It's going to be numbers driven. I said it all the time, we're pro or shareholders, and guys, you probably think I'm just playing on it, but when you look at a company like iCreate, really, we're listed on the market as a startup, right? So it's the current shareholders in the business, the ones in 2019 and the ones now, that enabled iCreate to be where it's at today. We weren't a private company delivering 50, 60 million in profit before coming to the market. We're made possible by folks here now on this call, folks who saw it, didn't know anything about it, take a bet, right? So I said that to say that, you know, everything that we're doing now, we want to be a demonstration of really, you know, just how different the market can be, how diverse it should be, in terms of approaches and so forth. And if you know, let's say Visual Vibe, for example, is growing out of control, and we feel that iCreate is underpriced, and we might best spin off this well profitable subsidiary and unlock some value for the shareholders and so forth, we will look at it, you know. But if we feel there are synergies that, you know, presents itself by operating within the confines of a subsidiary with private divisions and so forth, as a group, sorry, with private subsidiaries and divisions, we will do so also. So it is, any decision that we're making is in the best interest of the shareholders, and I don't say that lightly. So we always want to unlock value. Remember, I'm a shareholder too, I'm a big one, so I'm always going to want to unlock value for myself, right? But at the same time, we're not going to jeopardize the long-term potential of the business for short-term gains, you know. So it's something that we're playing very carefully. It's going to be data-driven and so forth, but at all times with shareholders at the forefront.
Thanks, Tyrone. We have a question from Philip. He's asking if
Yes,
you can. Well. Firstly, he's saying congrats. For the
you
for
know,
the
big up
project of
Philip.
SOTR.
Philip, our
Can you
top
give
10
us a?
shareholder, you know.
Yeah, man, a big shoulder. So we have to answer him properly. The man want to know
Yeah,
what's the
is my
idea
video
of
showing,
that village.
Simon? Simon,
No,
is
your
my video
video,
on?
no, your video isn't showing. No, just seeing the audio stream.
I'm not sure what's happening there. Let me jump off and jump back on.
Okay, all right, I'll give you a minute. Yeah, a man say Philip is Mr. Feel the vibe. Yeah, man, young Nocturne and Philip been doing big things in the market. The Tyrone asset and he's back on.
Okay, my video is there now.
Yeah, man. So Philip wants an idea of the profitability of Visual Vibe. Is Visual Vibe a $10 million company on the bottom line, 300 million? Where can we say what's the profitability of Visual Vibe?
Um, well, I'm not gonna say that yet, right, Gino, but I can say that it's going to put us right up there. We're not gonna be a small company anymore, for sure, on the market after this Visual Vibe acquisition. We're gonna be right up there with the big boys, in terms of, you know, revenue, in terms of profitability, in terms of profit margin, in terms of free cash flow, in terms of our opportunity to pay dividends. We'll be functioning, you know, what you guys will be seeing is a quick growth of iCreate. You know, it's like yesterday we were a teenager and tomorrow we're adults, working and paying our bills. That is what this acquisition will allow, right? But what I'll also say is that I've said it before, we have an aggressive M&A strategy for iCreate to become a creative group of companies. And a lot of folks know me obviously as a, you know, an entrepreneur in the digital and creative field, but you know, my background is banking and finance is what I studied at UA. So I've you know, I've been this is like unlocking a new side. I mean, in terms of the M&A strategies and so forth. And we have a number of targets. Anything that we're doing, we want our plan is to be in the top three best. So if we're doing this visual vibe acquisition, and we're playing within that space, we want to be in the top three within the digital outer home, within the outer home space, right? Not just digital, but outer home. So we want to be right there. Well, Visual Vibe is already there, digital wise, as one of the big players. But we want to be right there, the iPrint, the NOA, the Caledonians, and so forth. Collectively, we have to be in the top three. And that plan is um, within 24 months. And, we're looking at a number of other opportunities that will create synergies for Visual Vibe, and then once we've settled on that, once we've executed nicely on the strategy and streamline Visual Vibe within our operations, then we have other plays to make within the creative field in different areas that we want to also be in the top three. So, we have a very aggressive plan, and we're just happy that VM Wealth is working closely with us on this, and they're moving at my pace, and that is what I love. They're on the ball. We talk every day. We share the plans. We share the ideas. They're very receptive, and this is what I create has wanted in a long time, to have a partner like Visual Vibe, sorry, like Gino VM, who is very supportive of our vision as a company, So um, the acquisition will put us in a good place. If we decide that we're just gonna stay there and not do anything else, we'll be fine. But obviously we're not satisfied with that alone, so we'll be doing a lot more.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tyrone. Well, I want and currently where I'm has the sale been finalized, meaning that has financial close happened? So Gino, have you bridged some form of monies to iCreate to complete the sale, or will the sale be completed upon the completion of the rights issue? And I'm asking because, as you know, we have World Champs coming up, and a
Yeah.
few of the boards of Visual Vibe are kind of like standard boards where people got suspect that a good amount of revenue, based on your revenue model, is generated within those times. So when is financial close?
Um, Boy, Simon, I'm not sure if you can disclose that,
Yeah, man,
I understand.
I understand that. I understand that for sure. I had to
But
ask still,
but
you know, me know, but me
but
have to.
but what I wanted to say, Simon, is that is to the question that you asked before in terms of profitability, or to the question that Philip asked. I see one company we can compare a Visual Vibe to in terms of profitability would be like a lab. You understand? So that should
Mhm.
give you a hint of the type of numbers um in terms of profitability that that
Thanks, Gino. You know that now you said that
is
a
that a good.
beer investor in the group, so a man already pull up lab numbers. Philip's a lab is solid, so he's a happy shareholder. We have a question from Ireland. Ireland is asking, where does Visual Vibe fall in the terms of market position, or the share of sector, Tyrone?
In terms of digital, it is a top three. In terms of digital outer home, it is a top three, with the iPrint and Caledonia, for example. In terms of locations, I can go out on a limb and say that the Visual Vibe has the best locations in the country as it relates to outdoor advertising, right? Not just in Kingston, but in Mandeville, in Montego Bay, in Portmore, in Spanish Town. We have the best locations. We're number one in terms of positioning, in terms of locations. Definitely in terms of size, we're a top three. We're right there. And you can imagine when ICreate, we bring our level of creativity and so forth to the table, and our content creation capabilities and what we'll be doing working with brands. You know, we're gonna disrupt that even more. So yes, that's where I would put it. And what I would add with Gene is the question that you ask in terms of you know, money's changing hands and so forth. Obviously, it's a deal that is, you know, positioned around the rights is happening, but as per our agreements and so forth, as per the sales agreement, you know, funds are moving and in escrow and so forth. But the entire deal will be closed to execution of the rights issue.
Thanks for that, Tyrone. That certainly adds additional color. Arlon has a follow-up question. How long are Visual Vibes advertising contracts? And Philip is asking, and I guess it's on the back of a statement that I had. Who pays for when World Champs and Olympics is placed on Visual Vibe boards? Yeah. So who pays for that to be shown on the boards? And as Arlan was asking, how long are the contracts generally?
Okay. So this type of business in terms of out of home, you know, brands want to keep their space, you know, and even though it's digital boards, you still want to ensure that you don't overcrowd it with ads, you know, because within a minute, one brand wants to see their ad being rotated multiple times within that minute, right? So there's still limited space. So when brands do take out an advertising contract, you know, like the bigger ones, it's normally recurring. It's just there, probably renew every 6 months, every year, depending on what it is. So and those brands that currently advertise on the screens, you know, like even Ray and Neville. Just the other day, I saw the brand manager for I believe it was Campari, Ray and Neville, and they said to me, "We're not giving up our space." You know, they have the wings. Like when you check like Ranny Williams, they have the wings, the still wings, plus when I say still, the non-digital wings, and then they have the digital rotation. So companies tend to keep that. They don't tend to move. They just renew. As it relates to the Olympics World Champs positioning, it's a collaboration with TVJ really, and whoever else has a broadcasting rights, because that screen can feed live TV on it, right? So what it brings for us is greater demand from advertisers for slots during that time of World Champs and so forth. So it's a combination. TVJ will get to expand their viewership during that time. People are on the road and want to watch the race and so forth. And we know that space is during World Champs, World Cup and so forth. It's crowded. It's a party. And at the same time, we Visual Vibe get to, you know, one, increase in terms of the premium around the ads, and two, you know, greater demand in terms of advertisers on the screens.
Thank you, Tyrone. Tyrone, do you see yourself? So somebody commented that boy, Tyrone look like him well versed in visual vibe acquisition, well studied. Yeah, but the man no must know him
Yes.
company, man. So
Yeah, you know what's funny, Simon? What's funny? The first time Visual Vibe came to me was in 2018, you know, right? That's the first time I learned that Visual Vibe was for sale. Was in 2020 and 2018, before we were even public. And I went after it, but it didn't happen. I left it for a while, and then, you know, COVID came and all the turmoil with ICreate, and another friend of mine came to me and said, listen, it's still on the table. And that time I went directly to the owners because I was going through a third party investment bank who they hired to handle the sale for them. And since I would say around September last year, I've been studying the business, been interacting with the owners, picking their brains. Just today, Ali Matnab and myself, we drove out all of Kingston and Portmore locations, right? Just looking at the traffic movements and the pedestrian movements, looking at potential future locations to complement the ones that already exist. I'm studying the business. Anything I'm getting into, I go into nerd mode. I have to know the numbers out of my head. I have to know it function, how the team works, everything pretty much. So we've been, and outside of that, we've been doing a lot of due diligence with the company too, prior to making an offer.
Thanks, Tyrone. Yeah, I was actually going to touch on that, even from my
Yeah.
experience. Usually
Yes.
it's not a, oh, yo, Tyrone, you want to buy my company, and I was like, oh yeah, man, all right, that's cool. So usually there is
Yes,
some form of
definitely.
due diligence there.
Especially
Tyrone,
when we have sorry, I was saying, especially when we have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders, you know?
exactly. We have a question from young doctor. Can you speak about the Jamaica 68 production for tourism? So that I think that's related back to the core I create.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, we are working on a documentary with the Jamaica Tourist Board, and this is a piece that I've wanted to do. I would say as far back as 2012 under E-Media, who is a parent company or the largest shareholder in ICreate. Um, and it's nothing before its time. Now that Jamaica is celebrating its 60th, we approach a JTB to say, guys, let us work on a documentary together that chronicles our story as a country in building our tourism economy. And it is being produced by our content creation arm. It's very quiet, vertical, um, vertical creative limited. It's very quiet. It's under the radar. I haven't said much about it publicly. But since the start of the year, it has contributed to our top and bottom line. Not just the JTB, but we produce the dollar commercial. We've been working with a lot of other companies in terms of their content. We've onboarded a few more clients, and that is a kind of, I would say, the agency um, production arm of the business that will be making a lot of noise soon. And I think we'll start to make some noise with that documentary. It's a big documentary happening for Jamaica 60th, so it will be launched in August. The team right now, I believe, is in Senton shooting on that documentary and so forth. So it's pushing forward the content creation arm of the company, the advertising agency arm of the company. And for anybody who know me, know that we had a big agency prior under E-Media. What we're doing now is we're bringing that under iCreate, retooling it. We're going to be funding it, building it out, acquiring some more equipment, and coming for a big um, share of that pie. So it's separate from Visual Vibe. And but when we do complete that acquisition with Visual Vibe, we'll be obviously looking at some restructuring to ensure we have synergies across the group and so forth.
Thanks, Tyrone. We have a whole slew of questions that just came
Oh
in.
boy.
Yeah, boy, yeah,
Okay.
man. They're very interesting. So, Jodian is asking. So she's saying the sale isn't formalized, but does iCreate currently have some form of control over Visual Vibe, creative decision making, and when can we expect to see Visual Vibes figures reflected on iCreate's financials after the rights issue and the final payment?
Yeah, definitely after the rights issue, after closing is when it will be integrated into. I believe Gino shareholders might get an opportunity to see that being reflected at least for one quarter for this year. The What was the first part of the question, Simon?
One. So the first part of the question is, does iCreate currently have some control over visual vibe, creative and or decision making?
Well, we're in there now, right? And a lot of it is just behind the scenes work, groundwork. I met all the team members there. We speak, we're looking at business development opportunities, opportunities to grow, new location opportunities and so forth. So there is a sense of collaboration now. The owners they're very convinced that this is it. They've been trying to sell the business, and I've been back and forth with them last year. So they're very convinced now, very comfortable. There's no turning back. So we have a level of involvement in the business currently. Not something that will show on our books right now, obviously, because we haven't completed the acquisition as yet. But hopefully for sure, I think we'll get to reflect that this year.
Thanks for that, Tyrone. And the next question is for Gino, and of course, Tyrone, you can chip in. So Tyrone said that the deal will be closed fully using the proceeds of the rights issue. Given how our market is and the process of doing a raise, including regulators meeting certain requirements, if the rights issue gets pushed back, are there any safeguards or plan B to still close the deal?
Yeah,
You
man,
want to take that,
definitely.
Gino?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we we have assessed the market already, and as financiers or as problem solvers, we always have to have plan A, B, C, D, go straight down to Z. You understand? So so as I said before, there is always a backup plan just in case the things don't work out as we want it to. But we feel very confident that things will go how we want it to go. I think the only thing can stop this is probably an earthquake, and even
And probably we'll be making that earthquake,
not
Gino.
from board, not from board. Um, 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 but even after that, I think there will be string. There will still be strong appetite for um for these type of transactions on the market at the moment. As you saw with Dollar Financial, there was a lot of appetite and a lot of complaints that people never get as much dollars as they want. So we're bringing the dollars for you guys, so don't worry.
Gino is a real salesman. We have another question from Ireland. Will Visual Vibe be a standalone subsidiary company with continuity of management, or will iCreate be putting in place its own management and I guess executive team?
Good question. The primary reason why Visual Vibe is selling and folks will ask, why are they selling? It's really because the founder of Visual Vibe is 70 years old, right? I don't want to make Ali any older than he is, but I believe he's 75. Um, you know, and their children aren't looking to take over the business, so looking for an exit. And that's the only reason why it's being sold. And Ali tell me already, if he was 10 years old, younger than he is now, we wouldn't even be having that conversation. And having gone in and looked at the business, I fully believe him. But we'll be working closely with the founders of Visual Vibes still. We'll be having adjustments to the executive team, but the company will be operating as its own standalone company. There will be a board in place. There will be a team in place. Obviously, it's part of a publicly traded company, so all the governance structures that are necessary will be, added to that business, to the Visual Vibe company. So it's gonna be operating like a true group of companies structure, is what I would say.
Okay, thank you. And I realize it's a group of companies, so get paid and possibly
Right.
other acquisitions, possibly.
Def- Yeah, way beyond possibly, I would say. There are other things in train already. Um, that we're looking to jump on right after we close this transaction.
Thanks, boy Tyrone. The last time you tell me that there were other things in train, we get the acquisition news like 4 weeks after. So, really have to
Yeah, man.
go look out for that.
Where is that, Gino? Yeah, definitely. We're gonna we have some other things in the pipeline.
Okay, we have some a few more questions, and I guess we can take like three more texts and probably a few audio. Um,
Yeah.
what is the proprietary? Oh, what is proprietary? Well, someone is asking, can we anticipate iCreate being an $8 stock in 12 months? I know what's going to be your answer to that, but I don't know if you want to answer that.
No, boy, if somebody had told me it would be a $4 stock today, I would have told them they're lying. My thinking was $1.50 by December. In January, my
Simon,
thinking was $1.50 by December.
All
Simon,
right.
someone answered that question. They said more like $20.
All right, Gino, speak that into being, man, because you want a big profit share you're in. So somebody is asking, what is proprietary about Visual Vibe, and what are your views on the barriers to entry? So I guess Ricky is saying, can't another company just come and just put up more boards, or put a board right beside of your board in half a tree?
There is one, and that's iPrint, but they still don't do what Visual Vibe do in terms of its cultural relevance around critical times in Jamaica for that location, for example. The barriers to entry, they're high, right? You can, we have 13 locations across Jamaica, key locations. Not only will you have to buy all the physical assets, the screens, the PPE, you will, getting those kind of license to operate at the respective locations. The negotiations around locations take sometimes even years. So to answer the question, proprietary asset, IP, our ownership really is around the screens, the ability to select the right locations, understanding the audience and demographics. This is where even companies like a Blue Dot come in, scientific data around those things. And of course, a team that understands digital and understands analytics and data and market positioning. It's not as simple as it looks. It takes a lot of work to even put up one screen, much less to get to 13 to compete with us.
And to
Tyrone,
add, Tyrone,
Yeah, man.
and to add, Simon, I would say that having a first move advantage in this market is very important, especially because, all right, so for instance, half a G, you go to NCB or some other companies trying to secure a contract with them, and they would say, because we have most of the blue chip companies already that can afford this type of marketing, they would probably say to you, why would I need to do another one
Yeah,
right at half a tree when we don't have one are gone already. You understand? So
Right.
so in this type of industry, I think the first move advantage which which Visual Vibe has creates even more creates an even higher barrier to entry.
Agree. Agree. Thanks, Gino.
Thank you, Gene. I have a few more questions. Give me 1 sec. Let me just sift through them. Okay. So the next question is from Khalil Mitchell. What is the likely proportion of iCreate's revenues which will be to its core business of training after the acquisition uh, contribution?
Um, I think over time, based on the growth that we've seen this year of iCreate, our Q1 was 46 million in revenues, 10.1 million in profits. We expect that type of performance to continue throughout the rest of the year without even not counting Visual Vibe, right? So we're talking about a growth that right now is just on a fast path, a fast track. So my expectation kind of in the next year is that Visual Vibe is still going to, as is coming into what exists now, going to command a decent chunk of the revenues around the group. But the school, the institute is growing very fast, and Get Paid is growing very fast based on some deals that we have secured. One with Digicel. To be honest, Simon, I think I'm just gonna have to pitch the different CEOs against each other to see who come out on top at this point in time. It can be anybody, but I think Visual Vibe has a head start just based on where it's at now, and it will continue to be the leader within the group for sure. But don't be surprised if Get Paid or an institute take over. We do have income that we expect from that or real estate project in Sentan. That might dwarf anything else that's happening right now. Um, but that's a one-off, so I wouldn't count it as part of the operations.
Thanks, Tyrone. Another
And
question. Oh, go ahead,
just to
Gino.
add to that, Simon, you know, we've been speaking about Visual Vibe because it's the one that's the big highlight for iCreate, and but iCreate is actually the dark horse in terms of there's so much potential. If, and I think that's why Tyrone would have brought it to the market. And I think given the plans that 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 he has for it, and we also see these plans being executed, as you guys know that he would have signed some contracts with the DBJ to get things done. He spoke about the NCB training, and he's basically, and the company is basically looking to do more. I think iCreate should also contribute heavily towards the income, towards the revenues and the net income. So
Yeah.
even though even though Visual Vibe is a hot girl now, iCreate is still the little nerd in the background, putting on the makeup and getting ready to be the sister in hot girl.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gino. So basically, this is not Tyrone putting Visual Vibe over his core business. But what I'm getting on, and even from the last time we spoke, Tyrone, at the live event, this really supports your overall vision for a creative group. And I create itself, based on the discussion that we just had, has some runway as well to also grow and contribute to total sales and income.
Yeah, man, definitely. If you look on some of the things that we've done, we're training um, team members from Jamaica Tourist Board from Caribbean Airlines across the region, Grace Kennedy Group, NCB. You know, we're not saying as much as we should, obviously, because we're so, there are some bigger news grabbing the attention of folks. But um, what I learned during COVID is that, boy, you can be disrupted when you even when just least expecting it, disruption can come. I mean, we didn't expect COVID, none at all, right? And it came out of nowhere. So what we're trying to do is to have we're not going to depend on any one thing to be the savior for us as a company to grow and expand and be profitable. We want to be very diverse in terms of what we do. And speaking about this creative group of companies, and it sounds new, but this is what I've been working towards for years, right? So I'm just happy to have the opportunity, obviously from my board who have supported me and given me the runway to do this, and having a partner like VM Wealth, working with us, not just around any funding, but just real advice in terms of structuring and so forth, the valuations, the market read, timing, and all of these things. And we know that we have a clear idea of it. We're gonna be moving very fast around it. So we want to have a diverse business. It's not gonna be Visual Vibe or the school. It's gonna be Visual Vibe or the school or Get Paid or the Creative City. I think folks probably thought that the Creative City is dead and not gonna happen, and that's not the case at all. That's very much alive. Um, so we're looking, we're looking at revenue and profit potential from all areas.
Thanks, Tyrone. Tyrone, I know we said this would be a quick chat, but if you could just give us a few more minutes. We have some
Yeah, man, no
questions
problem.
coming in. I just want to pick up the over 100 people that have participated, are in the conversation so far, and that are still here and holding on. Thanks for that, and big up to the two big top 10 shareholders who are
Yeah.
keeping the chat active. So we another question from Arlan. Um, how long are the lease terms at the board locations?
So these locations are continuous, right? Some of them are locations owned by KSAC, and the good thing about that is just a matter of paying your fees each year. Those will just go as long as the locations exist. The other locations, the private ones like a NCB, that's ongoing long term. Majority of these locations have been there for years, over 5, some 10 years. Some have changed slightly. And those would have been some of the things that we looked at when we were doing our due diligence, like what can disrupt us, what are the threats to the business, and having taken a deep look at the locations was critical. I feel very good about those. The long term, and we don't have any risk there.
Tyrone, I could help but notice in one-on-one staff presentation recently, and guys, the link to that stream is in the chat, that you're a director of that company. Do
Yes.
we see, and you mentioned something about dollar ads. I know dollar is related to the equity, so I'm just connecting the dot. The equity is a strong financial partner, has been a strong financial partner for you from last year. Philip has mentioned that there may possibly be synergies with Lauren from Blue Dot, which you would have mentioned the company. Um, are you see are these some of the synergies that we should expect from, well, not just currently listed companies, but private companies which you are associated with as well? Are you going to pull from that ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. That ecosystem has been working for ICreate. especially in our lowest times. You see, Lauren is on our board. Ricardo, one-on-one, is on our board. Um, Adrian from the equity is on our board through the investment. There's a group of young, fearless entrepreneurs, Simon, who we see coming up very fast, and a lot of them, a lot of us have been working together um, for a long time. I've been on one-on-one board since inception when Ricardo was setting that up, and he went, he approached Danny Williams for financing. Danny Williams, the founder for Sagicor Life Jamaica, Sagicor Group, well, Life of Jamaica, no, Sagicor Group Jamaica. Danny Williams, had requested that I serve on the board of that company. I've been there since inception, looking at the growth. I'm just amazed by what Ricardo and his team has achieved over, a very short time. Um, I don't say a lot about it, but I'm involved, Simon, with a lot of these business. Quick plate, amazing concrete, you name it. I'm there in some way or another, whether on the board or connecting them with raising capital, or connecting them with markets, or connecting them with board members. So when my social capital was low in terms of me getting it done for ICreate, I was still able to get it done for these businesses. I have my tentacles on even some of the last IPOs that is to come to the market. I have some form of influence there, right? Whether making the introduction for the broker or some investor or whatever it is. So I'm just happy now that with iCreate, I'm able to get my kind of, um, play time, So I'm very happy about that. But I've been supporting and helping a lot of these other businesses behind the scenes.
Thanks, Tyrone. And I guess we can take three last questions. I have a short one. How's the institute doing in the rest of the Caribbean at the moment? And what are the prospects for growth?
Out of everything else that you see that we do, I think the Institute has a quicker potential of regional growth and expansion. And that's why I'm so excited about it. And it's not just the Caribbean, it's Latin America, it's African continent, it's in the US. Um, we still want to invest more in the Institute. Um, it is doing good from the shift that we've made from physical to purely online. We have some new programs that we're going to be introducing within like reggae music space and so forth. Um, it's doing well. Dominic Summers is the president of the institute. He's doing a good job in terms of changing just how we're positioned. Before COVID, we had location in Mobay, Kingston, Trinidad through our partnership with Digicel, but we've now moved fully online. There will be some physical reintroduction, but not in the way before. So we're paying attention to it. The education space is changing a lot, so we have to be on the ball where that is concerned. Constantly looking at new technology, blockchain, crypto, fintech, NFTs. So 2 years ago, when we were talking about digital marketing, it's now NFTs and those things. So um, there's always a need for an iCreate Institute. But we're doing good now. We're confident. We feel very good about it. But there's a lot more to be done, I think, in terms of building out the school. And when we get some more capital for that, we'll be injecting that to see that happening. Now we're looking at some acquisitions so from a school's perspective.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Tyrone. So we take two questions. So for anybody that would prefer to ask their question via audio, you can unmute and do that now. Remember, we're trying to keep things respectful and short. Tyrone is very busy, so
Mhm.
can always unmute and join the chat, or you can add your question in the chat. So we're taking two more. Ramai Cook, I see you're unmuted. Okay, I guess that was a mistake. All right, so fine. We got a lot of questions in, Tyrone. I know you have always been willing to connect with your shareholders, through these means, particularly your retail shareholders, and to share your vision, and what I've realized with iCreate. So I'm not a marketer. I'm not in that, side of industry at all. But I've realized that, since the start of the year, and maybe even before as well, you and your team have been, on the road of building that brand image around what you expect iCreate to be, and around that creative group. So you've mentioned it a few times, around building that creative group. And this conversation, well, helped me, and I hope it helped others to kind of see how Visual Vibe as a company fits into the overall vision. I'll just ask, um, the last one. How does iCreate maintain its vision of the business if Tyrone is not at the helm? That's a good question. So when we think about iCreate, we see Tyrone. You know,
True.
what is iCreate? How can we see iCreate going forward? Without Tyrone.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think over the last few months, what we would have seen is a kind of dilution of the concentration in terms of leadership, right? Um, Obviously, having gone through what we went through, um, in terms of our challenges on our rocky road, we lost a lot of people in terms of management, in terms of board. And to be honest, Simon, I have to be doing a lot of I've done a lot of the heavy lifting between 2019 and 2021, right? Head cook and bottle washer in no joke terms when I say that, uh, from doing accounting to sales to board leadership, almost every single thing you can think about. I've put the business on my back. Um, Sometimes it was just me there, really, during the nights, during the weekends, during the days. But I know that was necessary because, you'd have seen I tweeted sometime that, you have to believe in yourself first. And over the last couple of years, what I've done is kind of invested and believed in me. And when you do that, you kind of demonstrate to people that I believe in this thing, and then people want to help, seeing the demonstration of you putting in the work and jump on board and say, listen, I'm going to come help you push the vehicle too, right? Um, so what we're seeing now is a change, or an expansion of the kind of leadership and support ecosystem. And what I mean by that is, we have Declan Tully, who used to be the CEO for Trend Media, which is a company that owns Loop and does a lot of the digital marketing for Digicel. He has grown their revenue 10x, since starting there as Chief Revenue Officer to CEO. He's now with iCreate full time. Um, we have someone heading the school. We have someone heading the agency, the e-commerce side. We have our CFO now. We have a strong audit committee with Ivan Carter, former Chief Financial Officer for Sagicor Group, leading that for us. So over the last 6 months, or I would say 9 months, I've started to put in place a team. Now, obviously, I'm still the face of that, and over time, folks will get to know some more of the other team members on iCreate, because I still have some more heavy lifting to do, Simon. Putting down some of the weight, but taking up new ones. Because what I want to do, I believe in this vision. The board supports me. I'm going to be running that marathon, for another 24 months in terms of the heavy lifting, but putting in place strong structures to by the time we finish building out this creative group of companies, we have a very strong team helping us. And as you know, it is not never complete without the right financial advisors and so forth, and arrangers on the team. So, having VM in our corner too is very important. So they are. It's not just Tyrone. I'm the most vocal now, but we have a good team, and it's gonna grow even stronger as we go along.
Thanks for that, Tyrone.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, we come to the end of the Q&A. So as I was saying, I learned quite a bit more about the company and its structure and how that fits into the vision. Gino really came in on the financing or the capital market side for VM, and give us some
Yeah.
idea about, timing or relative size and things like that. So we're actually looking out for the rights issue. I just want to know if Tyrone and Gino, if you have any final words to say before we close out.
Um, no, I just want to thank Gino too for coming on, to kind of help to guide the conversation, and thank for the over 100 participants. As I said, Simon, I believe fully in the retail movement and the growth of the interest in the market. And as a CEO on the market, I'm always open to supporting the kind of sharing of information, because I get to learn more around the diverse thoughts of folks who buy stocks and invest in companies. So it's a two-way street. So I'm always happy to do it. So I give thanks for the opportunity to be here too.
Yes, Simon, thank you very much for the opportunity to share. Thanks for allowing VMware to be a part of this discussion. And I just want to let everyone know that um, the the economy is on a rebound. The world's economy, although we see that most of the countries are going into a recession. Jamaica is on the rebound. The stock market seems to be growing a bit, and iCreate is definitely, as I said before, this is a new iCreate. I hope you guys are looking forward to it, and you can feel confident that that you have a team of professionals that will bring something to you. One of foolishness, basically. You understand? Just to mention,
Exactly.
that I would have brought Fesco as well as Mailpack to the market, and you see where that is. And I am letting you know that I see iCreate becoming one of those companies. So that is my final word.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Gino.
guys. Thanks again, Tyrone, and thanks and congratulations, on executing this transaction. We're looking forward to it. Thanks to everybody
Yeah, man.
that joined in, over 100 people. I really appreciate it. And this recording will be made available. So much respect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Big
Have
up
a good
everyone.
evening.